Um, as you know, like I actually had the experience of as a teenager after that incident with the, shooting and everything.
Right.
I think I was a teenager. I was a teenager then, maybe 14, 15 when that happened. But at 16, I moved to Zimbabwe, Africa, and I got
Wow.
to see what that was like. And I was in school and they were like, where are you going? And are they going to be in the trees? And are there going to be elephants outside your window and your bedroom door? And I literally was like, I don't know. I really don't know what I'm getting myself into here. I have no idea because we're not educated about Africa in this country.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fatu's podcast, Stories of Life, Journeys of Life, where we talk about people's journeys throughout their life, lessons learned. And, today I have with me Yolanda, very special guest,
Hi,
Yolanda
everyone.
Oliver. How are you, Yolanda? Please introduce yourself.
I'm good, Fatu. I'm Yolanda, and I'm here in Pennsylvania, and I met Fatu through Sub2, the greatest real estate community, and we're going to talk about life.
Yes, we are. So, for those who do not know you, who is Yolanda?
I am loyal to my family. I'm a new entrepreneur. I used to be an attorney, so I went to law school, practiced law for a while, realized that wasn't for me, and kind of figured out a few things and really found out that I love real estate and entrepreneurship. And so I'm kind of moving out into those areas, more on the entrepreneurial flow.
Wow. Okay. So, you said a lot there. From being a lawyer to an investor to, all this other stuff. So let's start in the beginning. What made you decide to go pursue law?
I was young, obviously, in Philly, and I just really didn't like injustice. And I really, just seeing things on the news kind of made me upset. And I was trying to figure out what can I do about it, and I wanted to get into justice. And I also studied a lot of career courses, career paths, and things like that. I wanted to do something. I liked English. I liked writing, and in high school I did that. Best field for you type of thing. And I could have been an English teacher or professor. I think I would have enjoyed that, but I really thought the law was going to fit me better. And also, coming from the hood and having financial constraints all my life, I was like, I need to make money though. So, my
Right.
dad was a college professor, and I knew, they make decent money, but not great, excellent money probably. So I really wanted to, also, make money. So that's how
Of
I kind of
course.
got into it. Yeah.
Of course. So, you got into law school. You obviously became a lawyer. How was that
Okay. So you froze up a little bit there. Can you repeat that question? You said
okay?
I got into law school. How was
How was how was how was that part of your life like? How was that journey being a black lawyer in corporate America? How was it navigating that? A woman
right?
on top of it.
Yeah. So it was, difficult, but I was very determined. I was very focused. I was very ambitious, and it was just something that I felt like I needed to do. So I studied a lot in high school. I studied a lot in college. I got good grades and I got into good schools, and I just kept studying, and I really did enjoy the law. I think the law is fascinating. I love the law. It's difficult being Black in corporate America. I was in corporate America for 2 years. I took a break in between college and law school, and I experienced corporate America in Boston. So New England is, no joke when it comes to racism. It's very blatant and obvious. At least it was when I was there. And that was just something that you have to navigate. But as a Black woman, I went to, because I was, in the hood, I got one of those community scholarships from a top prep school that wanted to have community people there. So I was always in an environment where I was like the Black girl, the only Black girl in the room. So it kind of prepared me for being the only Black girl in my classes in college. And the only Black girl in the, the corporate meeting when I got out of college. And so that experience kind of been like my whole life of how to navigate that. So it was really for me just more of the same. You always have to prove yourself. You have to work harder. You have to be smarter.
Wow.
Your work has to be 10 times better in order for them to be like, oh, wow, you really deserve to be here. So
Wow.
I'm used to it. And that's just how I function. I just put my head down, go to work. And I've always been able to outperform my peers. So that's just been my life. So
Wow.
um, law school was, I mean, and practicing law was more of the same. I was able to prove myself and have partners fighting over me to work on their work. And, so I know I'm good at what I do. They said I'm good at what I do, and it was good for a while, but I didn't find fulfillment in that because I was at those, Wall Street law firm, doing corporate deals that you find in the Wall Street Journal. And I didn't have a life. So I couldn't go on vacation. I couldn't go to funerals. I couldn't, I missed weddings, things like that, just because there was a case or there was a deal. And it was just very stressful. And I realized that money alone, without being able to connect to people and hang out and, as a woman, all the men had wives. So the wives were doing the laundry and cooking their dinners and raising the kids. And I'm like, well, I'm the woman. So who's going to be my wife? So I had to find a way to create a life for myself. I can't just be like, I'm successful and that's all I have.
That's all you
So
had.
yeah,
Wow. 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 So much to unpack there. Okay,
yeah.
so I don't even know where to start. That was a lot to be said. First, you have to be 10 times better. You have to work 10 times harder. And you have come to actually accept that. Like, you always have to be, for you to be recognized, you have to do 10 times more. You have to be 10 times better. You have to work 10 times harder. I mean, in terms of fairness, I personally don't think it's fair that you have to do that just to get the same recognition. But unfortunately, that's just the world we live in, right? So
Yeah.
how I know you're now numb to the feeling and everything, but seriously, how do you manage that? Like, do you ever sit back and just say how, that's kind of unfair? Like, why do I have to do that?
If you sit in this is unfair, you're not going to get very far because this is unfair doesn't really progress you any further.
Yes.
What you have to do is suck it up, buttercup. This is what it is. This is how it is. And unfortunately, racism and bias is built into the pie of America. The American pie is made up of, it's like trying to extract the cinnamon out of pie. America has not been able to do it. We don't even recognize it. It's just normal. And so you just have to get with the program or you're going to be left behind on the side. I actually wanted to get into racial justice. And what really got me into it is that there was a Black student, high school or so. She was a straight A student. She went into we call them Chinese stores because a lot of the unfairness in America is that you can come from another country, you can get a business loan and you can start a business in Black communities very easily, easier than I could get a business loan and start a store on the corner of my own community. So anyways, this is just a very common phenomenon in urban places like Philadelphia. And anyways, this girl, kind of like I did every day, went into the store for some juice. They call these juices hugs. They used to be called hugs and they were 25 cents. And she got an orange juice and her friends. Anyways, there was a dispute where the owner thought that one of those kids might not have paid for one of their juices. And she said she had paid for hers and she was walking out. And the owner, this woman, took out a gun and shot her, killed her. And when I saw it on the news, this was not a criminal girl. This was a straight A student. She was a model person and human being. You shouldn't have to say all those things, but unfortunately you do have to prove that this person is actually didn't deserve to be shot like that. No kid
Right.
does. If a
Over
kid,
a juice.
yeah, if a kid took a juice and even if she stole it, it's worth her
Call
life.
their parents. Do not
Yeah,
shoot them. That's
there was
not
no
right.
justice and she was actually deported back to China. And I was just enraged. I remember being a kid and I was just enraged that there was no justice, and there were things like that that just caused me to really want to get into that. Probably be something like a Benjamin Crump, but I realized that just makes you a very upset person if you create your career
Yeah.
around fixing the wrongs of racial injustice and police brutality. We still have that stuff going on now. So even
Yeah.
now, it upsets me deeply, but I have to just really turn my face and my emotions away from it because if I don't, I'll just be, there'll just be a ball of anger and upsetness. And I have to decrease that as much as possible because being Black in America is just stressful, it just is because
Yeah.
we just have a lot more to deal with.
Yeah, for
I've always
sure.
just had to put my head down and just say, it is what it is. I'm going to just work hard and do what I need to do to get from
Right.
A to get where I need to go.
Wow. Wow. That's sorry to hear about that girl. That's very sad. Over a juice, I think you could have many other ways to can handle that, right? Even if
Yeah.
she was guilty, call the parents, call the cops.
Yeah.
She doesn't, nobody deserves to be shot over making a mistake, especially if you're a young kid, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's very upsetting and very sad. And unfortunately, that's just the world we live in, right?
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes it's unfair everywhere, and sometimes even, the injustice comes from your own people, right? It's not just, it's just America in general, right? I was at the
That's
airport.
one issue that we have. There's so many that layer on top of one another and just
They
cause
do.
a lot of things that need to be, addressed, fixed, and worked out. But it's not easy, and it's
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember dropping my mom off at the airport, and the guy was being so rude, just so rude to her, like over, and she doesn't speak any English, right?
mm,
But it was just like, trying to weigh her bags and stuff, and the guy was just being totally like just ridiculous. So
yeah,
we kind of stepped in, and I'm like, you don't need to speak to her in that offensive way. She does not speak any English, right? You can
yeah,
just talk to us. So then it kind of escalated, and then mind you, I started getting called like, oh, go back to your country. I bet you don't have an American passport. You need to go back to where you come from and stuff like that. All these assumption, and mind you, the person doing this was actually a black person, right? So
wow,
yeah, it doesn't even come from, just every, like, I get it hit. I get it from all angles, which is
yeah,
the saddest part about, America, unfortunately, like, right?
homophobic as well. So,
It's not just like, one race that's going to do that to you. Sometimes it's the race that you identify with, right? That's going
yeah,
to actually treat you like in that type of manner. And it's so
yeah,
sad that, I kind
yeah,
of just grown like, I'm just going to judge people as people,
yeah,
because I seen it come from all angles, like
yeah.
literally, the go back to Africa, the African booty scratcher, like all the stuff in school, right? I mean, that's so
I remember hearing that, just like, what is that exactly?
understand it. And then, this is a while ago, but
Yeah,
with the whole name calling, and I was always surprised that, I would get called by
yeah.
somebody like, and then they'll call you, oh, you black, this and that,
We,
and
you
they're
know,
just as black as you are, right?
we get no
And then
education about Africa at all. And as you know, like I actually had the experience of as a teenager after that incident with the shooting and everything.
right.
I think I was a teenager. I was a teenager then, maybe 14, 15 when that happened. But at 16, I moved to Zimbabwe, Africa, and I got
Wow.
to see what that was like. And I was in school, and they were like, "Where are you going? And are they going to be in the trees? And are there going to be elephants outside your window and your bedroom door?" And I literally was like, "I don't know. I really don't know what I'm getting myself into here. I have no idea." Because we're not educated about Africa in this country, and
No,
unfortunately, part of the I'm just going to
no.
say it, part of the slavery history that we have here is that we were told lies about where we came from, and we were told that Africa was this, that, and the other. And even National Geographic, as wonderful as it is, if that's the only thing that you see, where people are in huts or people are starving, or you see the campaign, and that you think that's all there is, and they don't tell us about the wealth that is over there that really has.
No,
Anyway, we won't even get
no.
into it. That's why they went over and took it. But and then told us that we weren't kings and we weren't,
Mhm.
royalty and running things, and just loving each other. And I mean, there's conflict everywhere, though. In every nation, there's conflict. But yeah, we just were lied to about what Africa was, and I remember going over there and think, first of all, there was so much money, there were so many rich people, there were so many Mercedes. I was just like, okay, why does everybody have a mansion? And by the way, I don't. So like, what
Why
did what?
why why are they not in trees?
Right. We have
Why are they
right.
not living in huts, right?
Yeah,
Why are they not like, the image of Africa that you see on TV, right?
ice cream
That's
stores,
just
movie theaters, and just like, okay, it's not that different. and then the education is 20 times better than
Yeah,
American
it's
public.
harder.
Yeah, it's harder, it's better, it's
It's
higher.
harder for sure.
You can finish high school there and come here and skip 2 years of college easily.
Yeah.
You just test out. Yeah, so
I
I
can attest to that for sure. I've been
yeah,
in that system, I was raised there till I was like a teenager, so I know that it's much, much harder. The school system is much harder, and
yeah.
then everybody's kind of like forced to, huh?
I said you actually have to learn things. I don't mean to be mean, but literally, like they teach you things, and then,
Yeah,
like, for example, history, and then they give you a
yeah,
blueprint, and you have to know it. There's no circle, fill in the blank, write a paragraph about a sentence about the paragraph above, or nothing like that. You have to know names, dates, everything. You just have to write.
yeah.
It's like
It's way different. It's way, way different. That I can attest to. So wow. So how was that's an experience to live in a whole different country, right?
yeah.
What did you take away from that experience you had?
It totally expanded my horizons. Actually, when I came back and I picked law, I picked international law in particular because I wanted to do law among nations, because I saw all
Mm,
the inequities, all the unfair information, even just, unfortunately, how American foreign policy works. And I studied international relations and in college and policy formation and implementation. So I was very into politics and how it goes down. And Americans, oh, this is going to get really political, but basically,
it's
the job
controversial.
of a diplomat is to go and shove American foreign policy and American agenda and American interests down other people's throats. And then I realized that I don't want to be a diplomat, because I thought about that. So international law is a whole bunch of other things. I don't want to bore anybody about it, but it's a whole lot of other things that isn't that. So, but a
Right,
lot of it is that. So I
right.
studied the corporate side of it. I actually have an LLM, which is a Master of Laws as well, in
Wow.
international and comparative law, because that's when you help countries write their rule of law if they don't have one. That's public international law, and then private international law is the corporate stuff when you're doing deals internationally. I ended up on the corporate side. I wanted to be on the public side as well, but I ended up at law firms doing basically corporate deals, and a lot of them were international.
Mhm.
So it ended up being slightly
Amazing.
different than I wanted to. And environmental law, I got into that as well.
Wow.
So it's just how the firm,
That's
needed me at that time. But yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So now, question, because I know, a lot of parents, it's like they want their kids to be the doctors, the lawyers, right? So when you chose to quit practicing law, how did your family take that? Like, how was your family and close circle? How did they take that? I'm pretty
I
sure it was hard for them to accept.
I think it doesn't make sense for anybody. I think anybody looking at the situation, looking at the money I was making, just is like, are you crazy? Did you lose your mind? And I really just, had to go with what made me happy. I mean, I saw a lot of miserable people who were making, millions of dollars a year,
Yeah.
it did on their third wife, it just, I don't want to be like, stuck in, or going on fantastic vacations to Italy, Spain, and they are in the business office while their family is on a tour of Spain or whatever. And I'm on a call with them like, oh, your family's having a 3-week vacation in Spain. Sounds wonderful. You're in the business office most of the time, emailing us and sending us, updated contracts. And, we're on a conference call about, closing this deal and, negotiations. And, it just was like, okay, we have, and I experienced that. You have money and you really don't have time to take the vacation, or when you go, they're going to call you 50 times. They're going to expect you to hop on the computer and, you're going to amend a contract and, be on conference calls and things. And I even had a double funeral and I had to travel to Philly. And it was just, I just needed 3 days. And it was just unbelievable how much they bothered me. And then when I got back, the partner that I worked with
Wow.
said, well, unfortunately, this is the profession that you have chosen. And that's a quote. That was the first thing.
Whoa.
Welcome back, and sorry we had to bother you. Unfortunately, this is the profession you have chosen. And it's just these moments where you're just like, really?
You take a
Really?
pause and question your life decisions for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when you do
Wow.
work with one female partner at the firm and she's like, oh, my daughter calls the nanny mom and calls me, June, I'm going to change the name.
Wow.
These
Seriously?
are, so you have a baby, but you don't, and they're like, look at the female partners, how successful, you can be this. And it's like,
It was not for you. So that was
well,
wow.
Yeah, so I just, lived a very moderate lifestyle so that I could not be in golden handcuffs, meaning that you can't afford to quit because your car and your house and all these things cost too
You
much.
need money to pay it off.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I had a Honda Accord, I lived very moderate. I bought a moderate
Yeah.
house. So if I got another job, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I can't afford, you know.
Right, right. So when did you decide that this is it? This is it. I need to quit. I need to leave and do something else with my life. What
I
was the
was
breaking moment?
I was just deeply unhappy, and I just wasn't satisfied with my life. I would work at the firm till, the metro was leaving DC, and then I would log out real quick, run downstairs and get on the last train out to Maryland, and then,
Wow.
just wasn't a fulfilling life. And it was hard to do things like date. You couldn't return phone calls necessarily or keep a date because, I also worked with our LA office a lot. And so they're 3 hours behind. So if they're talking to me at 4 o'clock saying, oh, can you look this up? Can you like send the client a memo, research, that's your evening gone. Boop. So if you had a plan to go somewhere, you just, it was just hard to have a life doing that type of law.
Outside of that. Wow. Okay.
Yes. Or like, oh,
So,
you can start your own firm, but it's like the kind of law I was doing. You really can't just hang up a shingle and say, walk into my office. I can handle everyday people issues. That's not what I do.
mm,
I don't handle divorces. I don't handle child support. I don't handle, your child got locked up for whatever. I don't do that kind of
mm-hmm,
stuff. And I didn't really want to do that
mm-hmm,
either. So I just didn't really want to try to figure out. I mean, I could have, but I just really, was like, I can do a lot of things with this brain that I have. I don't have to do this. And I
okay.
kind of went through a very convoluted,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
figuring it out. So I've
Yeah.
been through some evolutions of myself and just, stages of just things. And that's why I've called this stage, Yolanda 3.0, because 1.0 was all of that up to law, finishing my legal career.
Mm-hmm,
Then just in between after that, I did a lot of things in sales and just different things that made me happy that, this
mm-hmm.
doesn't make a lot of money, but I like it. And I
I'm fulfilled. Right. I am fulfilled.
I'm happy,
Wow.
but it doesn't
Okay.
make a lot of money to sometimes to do what you like to do. So um
Okay.
develop some skills and see some other talents that I had. And then I just long story short, I ended up, helping to run an engineering firm. So I knew how to do everything in a small business, accounts receivable and HR and all these things. Cause they're like, you're smart, you can figure it out. We're, a $4 million company. We're not that big. And, I did figure out a lot of things and it was just really interesting. And then I didn't really want to be an entrepreneur at that point, but at some point things just started clicking as I got into real estate. And it's like, well, I want to be a real estate investor full time. I can do this full time. And then I want to, and then in the middle of that, I got into funding and, building your personal credit and building your business credit to a level where
Mm-hmm.
they're impeccable and you can kind of get whatever you want financially. And then that's how I got into business credit and business funding as a business. And so I'm kind of, working those two things right now is what I call Yolanda 3.0, which is a totally different,
Wow.
thing. So the legal background is there. When people ask me things, I always say, da-da-da-da. And then by the way, legally, I just want to, I'm not, giving you legal advice, but I just want to tell you, you want to
Right.
watch
Right. Right.
just because my brain still works like that and thinks about problems in the same type of way. So yeah.
This is amazing. So if there is one advice you can go back and give your younger self, what would it be?
How young are we saying? Is this 20-year-old? Is this 5-year-old or 8?
Before law school, if you can give, before you went through that whole, right when you're hitting adulthood.
Yeah. I don't know if I would take it back because I really did enjoy law school. I mean, the law is fascinating. Like I enjoyed law school. I remember when I was working in my corporate job and there were lawyers and things in my sphere and on my teams. And when they found out I was, getting into all the law schools and, choosing between them, they had these opinions and then one of them said, law school was the worst 3 years of my life, but, being a lawyer is really satisfying. And I thought, oh my God, so that's why I picked the law school I picked. I thought, well, I better go somewhere where, because I was going to go somewhere in colder climates. And then I realized, no, I better go somewhere where it's going to be warmer because I want to be, I just want to be able to have as much enjoyment as I'm, dying with these law books. And it didn't actually end up that way. I actually really enjoyed law school. Had a great
Okay.
experience at my school. I enjoyed all the reading, all my textbooks. I still have them all. And, if I wanted to, I could go back and read them all with all my notes
Right.
and everything. Like, I love the law. For sure. And that's why, actually in one of my groups, I got into transaction coordination because I thought, oh, contracts. I love contracts and paperwork. I love that. Being
Right.
very,
Right.
I'm used to that. But I did decide to get out of that because I really want to be able to be mobile and go out and see things and, talk to people and not just be stuck under a bunch of papers. So,
Amazing. So what advice would you give yourself then?
oh, my bad. Um, I don't know. What advice would I give myself? That's tough because I feel like I wouldn't be the person I was today if I didn't do the things I did. I can't
Without the
really say
journey.
I can't
Yeah.
really say do this or don't do that. The journey
Yeah.
just is what the journey is. And even
With
some of
the
the things,
journey. Yeah.
yeah, I would just, man, I can't even say because as much as I'm learning today, it's like I wish I knew these things earlier, but
You
um
wouldn't change a thing.
what would I tell myself?
Yeah.
I wish I could push some knowledge backwards about, I don't even know. I mean, I feel like some things you just learn through life. That's tough. Um
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. No, I get it. I get it. Sometimes it's like it's the journey that makes who you are. Like you
yeah,
had to go through all that stuff, all those versions, right? 1.0, 2.0 to be 3.0. So now who is 3.0? What do you currently do? Where can the audience find you? Can you just elaborate on that?
yes. So well, like I said, I do real estate investing and I do a lot of things in the financial world. I'm doing business credit and business funding. I help people understand business credit and how to be fundable, and then I help you get the funding. So a lot of people want to go straight to the funding, and that's fine. So I help people get funding in their business. If you have a business with an EIN and you want funding that's not under your social security number and that's not going on your personal credit report, I help you do that. But a lot of businesses realize that they're not set up properly. They're not able to get funding because of certain things. And so the
Yeah.
business credit building portion of it, they usually have to go back to that because going straight for the funding, usually they're not ready to get the amounts that they want to get. So, for example, for startups, I try to get you $150 at least out the gate as a startup, and then you can start building these other areas of business fundability under your EIN, and then we can get you into the millions if you are willing to go through the building and
Right.
the journey of going up to that part. And also if your business requires that. Not every business needs, $1 million. Some people just need 100,000, Some
Right,
people just
right.
need a couple 100,000.
So you said 100, just to for the audience, right? You said $105. You mean $105,000.
150,000 is what I said.
150,000, right?
That's
Okay,
the
yeah,
goal
just
for a
to
startup.
clarify.
Yes. Did I say 105? Yeah.
You know, you said 150. That was my fault. You said $150, and I'm like, wait, what?
No, no,
150?
no, no, no. You can't
Okay,
get it.
so that's amazing. Well, thank you. Before we wrap up, is there any question that I haven't asked you that you wish I had?
Um, you didn't ask about my Senegalese roots. So one thing you and I
That's
have in
right.
is that my dad is actually 100% Senegalese. So my parents
Yeah.
met in college. And so I have African American background with Native American and all this other stuff in Caribbean background
Yes.
from Barbados on the
Yes.
left side, on my mom's side. But my dad is 100% Senegalese.
Yeah.
So when I
She's
found
my
Fatima,
Senegalese sister right here.
he's my Senegalese cousin over here, and I have to explore those roots because I did not grow up with my dad,
Right.
and so I didn't grow up with the culture, and I've never been to the country, but I definitely that is, I'm actually trying to go next year if I can. My
Let's do it. You would love
mom,
it. I
so
think you will have so much fun. It's
yeah, so
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well,
because
thank you so much.
absolutely,
This was wonderful.
yeah,
Um, I'm pretty sure, people will have a lot of questions and stuff, and I think we should have you again just to dive deeper into like, racism and all these other topics that might be a little bit controversial, but it's a fact and it's our reality, right?
yeah.
So for sure. But this was wonderful. Thank you again, Yolanda. Where can I see you have a whole setup there, but can you just say for the audience where they can find you?
So if you're interested in business credit and business funding, take a screenshot of this or hit the QR code. It will get you to a consultation. There's my business line right there. My Instagram is Yolanda at Yolanda Kingdom Builder. And I'd say that because, you know, everybody's working on something, whether it's real estate or whether it's their corporate enterprises or their entrepreneurial business. And I call that kingdom building. I'm actually a Christian and I'm kingdom building for the kingdom, so to speak, but less of the kingdom and more of the building because it is a building process. And so I'm actually starting some a podcast and Instagram and all of that to really focus on encouraging kingdom builders, people who are building things, you know, whatever it may be, your empire in corporate America, especially entrepreneurship and things like that. So
amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna put all your information in the description box. Please, guys, make sure to follow. Share this podcast. It has been enlightening for sure. Thank you, Yolanda. Until next time.
Absolutely.